Got some more plant hacks from 5-minute crafts. This is always fun, so let's have a look what they got. Okay, let's have a look then. Let's press start. When your neighbour is not at home. That was a short one, wasn't it? Let's go back. What was it? What were they doing in that one? Spraying a bottle when your neighbour's away onto the neighbour's balcony, I guess. Watering their plants. Seems a bit weird. Bit of a strange one to start with. Moving on. It's got a zip tie. Got a hole. Oh, that's fairly interesting. What plant is that? That's a money tree or something? Can't quite see. Looks like it's severely toppled over, and they're using some zip ties to bring it back in line. I think probably they just need to repot the plant and that'll suffice. Trimming it back. We've got a coat hanger. We're outside in the garden. Ooh, these little stands for a self-irrigation system. Quite like that. It's quite interesting. Got a rose, chopping it up. Are we propagating the rose? Ooh, we are, but we're doing it in a funny way. We're doing it in a 5-minute craft way. We're sticking rose cuttings into aloe vera. Boost growth. Not sure it does boost growth. On my channel, I have recommended using aloe vera as a rooting gel because it is antibacterial, but it doesn't really boost growth of roots, so not really worth sticking it in some aloe vera. You're much better off just putting it in water and putting it in bright light. So I'm not a fan of that one. And look at that, look at those blooms, those gorgeous red rose blooms. Fantastic. That's not how that would grow at all. So what plant is that? Is that an aglaonema? Chinese evergreen, maybe? Looks like it needs some water, and I'm guessing they're going to do some magic to bring it back to life, even though it just needs some water. So we've got weak stems, apparently. A straw. Okay. Looks like the plant's out of water anyway, which is why it perked up again. Not necessarily sure that the straws are doing much to this plant to help it out anyway. Again, it's a typical 5-minute crafts hack. Not really worth doing. Rubber bands on a box. Got some succulents. They were rooted. Filling it with soil. Cutting the rubber bands away. What was the point of the rubber bands? Don't quite understand that one. Was it to keep it upright as they were planting? Seems wholly unnecessary. Just hold the plant in the box and backfill around. Unless they were trying to not touch the succulents to protect the farina. Who knows? So what have we got next? We have got a jade plant. Quite a nice healthy looking one. And they are absolutely butchering it by the looks of things. By chopping it up. Oof. And we've got more roses. Oh, no way. No. They chopped up a perfectly good jade plant to stick some roses in. Another typical 5-minute craft plant hack. They always mix up 2 plants for some reason. They always propagate one plant into another as if it's a good thing to do. Just keep the jade plant. It's lovely. Right. I mean, that can't be healthy for the plant, surely, to cut a stem right down the middle. It looks like we've got a cable tie and some wire. What are we doing with this? So we've got the wire inside the stem. Okay. Looks pretty. Not sure it's the most effective way of doing that. I don't know, would that die? Would that stem die? Doesn't seem particularly healthy for the plant to have it chopped down the middle and then have it tied to some wire so it can look pretty for your benefit in your home. Stencil, fertilizer. I've got some cuttings. Not sure what the cuttings are of. What are they cuttings of? Cast iron plant maybe? I don't know. Can't quite. Maybe an aglaonema. But they're using fertilizer to help with the rooting process. And this is generally a big no-no because the cut stems won't be able to draw up the nutrients from the fertilizer. It's pointless. They need roots to draw up the nutrients from the fertilizer to feed the leaves. So you're better off just using an inert substrate to root your cuttings. Inert just means doesn't have any nutrients in it, no life in it whatsoever. So that's why we use water perlite or just plain old soil, because they don't need fertilizer. Not a fan of that. Here we go, look. I knew this was coming. They chopping a cactus off, and I bet I know what's going to happen. They're going to stick another plant, probably another type of succulent, into the top of there. So they've got wooden sticks. I bet you that's what's going to happen. Yeah, making some sort of base, putting a hole in the middle, and there it is, aloe vera. Putting an aloe vera on top of a cactus. It may be possible to do that, but does it look nice? In my opinion, not really. I think I'd rather just have the aloe vera and the cactus separately because I think they look nice on their own. Got some soil around whatever that was, not sure what it was. Got some mini baby succulents, cuttings, unrooted. Ooh, that's interesting. Little succulent hanger. Looks nice in that state at the moment. I wonder what happens when that soil dries out and it begins to crumble. Does the whole thing fall apart? That's what my money's on anyway. Got some chicken wire. Making a little stand again, it looks like, for cutting. So that is a Philodendron Brazil, which grows in water. So there were unrooted cuttings that were rooting in that. Created a nice stand for them to root, so they don't kind of fall in the water and end up getting all rotten and stuff. I quite like that. It's quite a nice hack. I might steal that one. What plant is that? That is a Chinese money plant, wrapping it in moss. Now moss holds on to quite a lot of water. And I think there was a root ball there covered in earth. So we're wrapping the root ball in moss, and then what's the idea? Wrapping it in rope. Okay. What was that? Kokedama plant, was that? Quite interesting. How do you water it? I guess you would spray the moss and that would keep it moist. Look quite nice, quite colourful with the pink, the blue and the green. Wonder how messy it'll get though when you start to water it and all that kind of stuff. So what do we got here? We've got a large terracotta pot, we've got a glass, tumbler glass, and we've got some soil. What could possibly go wrong? Filling the glass, making an indentation. Oh, I quite like that, that's quite good. Got another Philodendron Brazil plant, making a hole with the glass for the plant to just then go in. Seems a bit OTT myself. You can just hold the plant and fill the soil around. That's a cactus. Uh-oh. That drawing can only mean one thing. We're going to chop up that beautiful cactus leaf. I hope not. There we go. There's the scalpel. Chopping up like a doctor. Putting holes. This is going to be another weird concoction. So we've got a cactus. Looks like a couple of echeverias, baby echeverias unrooted. I mean, that looks like a monstrosity to me. Doesn't look pretty. I don't know why they do this. Is this a popular thing in the plant world? Let me know in the comments, because I can't get behind it personally. Got some wood. That's a orchids. Wrapping it in moss. Tying it to a plank with some zip ties. So what's this going to be? Oh, a little hanger. That's quite nice. That's quite nice. Quite interesting idea. I mean, it doesn't look that nice actually, but it's an interesting idea. How would you water it? I suppose you would spray it with a spray bottle, the moss, to keep it moist. So you wouldn't necessarily need to pour water over it and make a mess. There's nothing keeping that moss in place, really. As it begins to dry, it's probably going to flake everywhere in your house. So not a massive fan of that, but not the most offensive thing we've seen. What was that, a lime? Lime seed, watering it. Ah, that's good. That's an actually good one. So we're using a glass on top of the seed to create a little dome of humidity for the seed to sprout and for the seedling to have a nice humid environment to grow on and be a nice plant. That might just be the best 5-minute plant hack I've seen. Got some moss from that tree, filling a mason jar. Are we doing a little terrarium? What is that? Is that a, that's a vining plant. Is that like a devil's ivy perhaps, maybe? Looks like a pothos anyway. So the roots will go into the sphagnum moss. I like that. It's quite nice little idea. I want to get into terrariums. I've done an open terrarium on the channel before, so I'm interested in doing a closed terrarium. Let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in me doing that. What have we got here? Looks like we're out in the garden. We've got a cocktail umbrella. Sticking it over a plant. Is that a shade? Protects from the heat. So we've got a wilted version on the left because it's not been protected by the umbrella, and an absolutely perfect one on the right, protected by the umbrella. If you've got a hot day, then protect it from the sun. Just put them in the shade, I guess. Don't need an umbrella necessarily, but it's not the most offensive hack I've seen from 5-minute plant. What are we doing here? Got a toilet, a running toilet, and we're putting some cocoa coir in the toilet. Okay. What are we doing with that? Hey? Planting some lettuces in a toilet filled with cocoa coir. That's a bit bizarre. Is that a real toilet that they've got in a house? Because it looked like it had running water. That's how they got the water in. What do you do when you need a to go to the toilet, so to speak. Red onion, chopping the top off. That's a kalanchoe. Why the onion? Why the onion? Oh, that went from white to red. So they're saying something in the onion makes the kalanchoe's flowers turn from white or a light, very light pink to bright pink. I'm not sure what the science is there. If you know, let me know in the comments. They never explain it properly on this. Aloe vera, some onions. Burying the aloe vera with the onions. So I could say that, I said earlier that you can use aloe vera, the gel, to help with rooting cuttings because it's antibacterial. It doesn't necessarily help it grow in the earth like that. You wouldn't put a strip of aloe vera with the gel on and then some onions on top. I think onions just grow just fine in the soil, so you can just plant them up and they'll happily grow onions in there. There's no need to bother with the aloe vera in my opinion. So we have a pine cone next. Is that honey that I see at the top? Squirting the pine cone with honey, bit of lemon juice, sprouting a pine tree from that pine cone. I mean, the image, the time lapse looks incredibly fake. Does it work? I'm highly doubtful that that works. Could be wrong though. We've got some seeds in a blue plastic bag. Got some flowers. What are we doing? Oh, what, did the flowers grow from the seeds in the bag? I suppose that's possible in a way. I'm not sure why you do it in a bag. Well, I suppose you do it in a bag to make it easier to transplant into this pot. Why not just start with the pot? If you're going to transplant into the pot, just start with the pot with some soil and the seeds. It will grow in happy days. Pantyhose, filling with soil. I've seen pantyhose on these before actually. Wood chips, mushrooms. Looks like we're growing mushrooms again. Don't know why we need pantyhose. Little holes. Look at that. I mean, they definitely came out of those pantyhose, didn't they? 100%. So we've got a peace lily. Don't pull it out. Okay. Destroy the pot instead. Looked like that would have just come out just fine. Well, in fact, it did come out, didn't it? It came out, but no. Let's destroy the pot instead, so we can't use it for another plant. What a waste, not very sustainable. Ah, the good old, I was waiting for this, the good old hair in soil trick to give the plant a magic boost from whatever nutrients are in hair. Trouble is, even if there was nutrients in that hair, it's not going to be broken down enough for the plant to be able to access it. It's just plonked on top, and I think they're going to probably water it in, like that's going to do something, but it definitely won't. There they go with the watering. Nice fertilizer, don't think so. We've got some ice, we're watering with ice. You see this quite often on blogs and sometimes on YouTube videos. I don't really understand why we're doing it. Like, it's meant to slowly irrigate the soil. Well, just water the soil. It doesn't matter if it's slowly or not. You want to water it and then let it dry and then water it again. That's the cycle. We don't need to worry about how long it takes for the soil to get wet. So you can use that in a pina colada instead. I've got some aglaonema roots, hydrogen peroxide. So we're going to tidy up those roots, which I presume they're saying they're rotten. What we're going to do, spray the foliage. Oh. Spray the foliage with hydrogen peroxide and the roots will magically go from rotten to beautiful off-white plump roots. It's kind of wrong on many levels really. Firstly, if a root goes rotten and black, there's no saving that root. The only thing you can do is cut it out. So it's not going to magically turn into a nice plump root. I think you need to add hydrogen peroxide to the roots rather than to the foliage. So I think you probably need to add it to the water for it to have any effect on the roots. So it's a bit strange. What plant's that? Is that a avocado plant or something similar? Got some wire. Oh, no way. Ooh, that poor plant. Dear me. Simple bonsai. That's not a bonsai, is it? In what world is that a bonsai? I don't know anything about bonsais, but I know that's not one. What's this guy doing? That was interesting. What is that? You don't want to be watering your plants with that device because it's basically a rose head. That's getting all the foliage wet. You don't want to get the foliage wet when you water your indoor plants. There's not enough air changes inside for the foliage to dry properly like there is outside. So water just tends to sit there, and as it dries very slowly, if you do that repeatedly, it turns to fungus. You get fungus and rot issues on your foliage. So try and just water the soil when you water your plants. Withered rose. Chop the head off. Are we propagating? We are propagating, but we're propagating in an onion. Why not? Of course you propagate in an onion. What's wrong with soil, I wonder? At least they're putting a bag over it to give it some, give it the greenhouse effect, like they say. Quite like that. Don't use that rose head attachment when you're watering your aloe vera or your, is that a cordyline and a ficus benjamina. Don't water it like that because that will rot your plants, like I mentioned earlier. Oh, the tampon trick to get rid of all the excess water. Don't know why you'd want to do that. When you water your plant, you want to get the soil as saturated as possible. You don't want to just kind of get it a little bit wet, and then if there's any excess somewhere else in the soil, put a tampon on to get rid of it. Just get it fully saturated, put it somewhere for it to dry for a week or two, and then do the whole process again when it's fully dry. Don't worry about putting tampons in soil to get rid of excess moisture. It's a myth. Got some bones. Are we making bone meal? Looks like we are. I hope she roasted those bones. I think that's what you're supposed to do to make bone meal. Roast them in the oven to make them really dry, so that I think they're easier to pulse in a mixer like she has. So what's she gonna do? She's gonna sprinkle it like Salt Bae. She's gonna sprinkle it over the foliage of that plant, as if that does anything. Very strange. You need to get it into the soil, not sprinkle it like Salt Bae onto the foliage.